I ask you a question? Are you ready to get and keep momentum in your business? I hope so, because it's Penny Elliott here, your host to having the perfect mix of the woo with the do. If you're ready to create the life that you want through a business designed by you, then tune in. Welcome to the Get Momentum for Online Entrepreneurs podcast with me, your host, Penny Elliott. And this is the show where we match the woo with the do. It's your perfect mix of mindset and strategy to have fast success in your online business so you can finally live the life you thought you were going to when you first started your business. And we're kicking off the podcast with the Hit Refresh on 2020 Summit. And today I have the amazing Lovelda. I love saying your name, it's so good. And we met through a mutual friend, and I was a guest on your podcast, and it was so amazing because we've just really hit it off. I think we probably spent nearly 2 hours chatting, probably from a while to go, and the video didn't really work, so we just did a bit of a dance there for a while just to fill the gap, which was hilarious. I love the fact that you're from London and we can talk about all great things in London, but you have a serious side to you as well, so and a huge business and big following. So welcome. You can do your formal introduction and tell all the listeners and the people watching exactly what you do, how you serve them, and how awesome you are.
Hey! Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Flip the script.
Yeah.
So my name's Lovelda Vincenzi. I'm an international moderator, MC, and host, which means I introduce speakers on stages and I interview them on panel discussions. I'm also a female speaker mentor, which sounds like it might be a deviation, but it actually emerged from seeing so many men on stages and just thinking, surely we could balance this out. Surely there are just as many talented women. So I work with women to help them commercialize their speaking business so they can actually make some money from it and secure those bigger speaking engagements. Worked in sales for 8 years. So it kind of sat quite nicely with having those sales conversations. And then, as you mentioned, Penny, I just launched my podcast as well. It's called The Lovelda Show, Women of Power podcast. And the premise behind that, it sounds like these things are all very different, but they're not. The premise behind it was I really wanted to showcase the behind the scenes of powerful women, because sometimes what we need to see is the realness in order for us to connect and also find that inner strength ourselves, so that the gap just feels that little bit smaller. It's like, oh, there's a little piece of them in me. They're not superheroes.
Yeah, well, we are, but we're human as well.
Well, the key thing is human, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess one of the big things that, especially in your business, and who you help and how you help people, on stage, right? COVID hit, no stage.
No stages.
As we traditionally know, no stage. So for you, it's massive. You must have had your year planned out for 2020, and this is how I'd help people, and these are all the different events to go to. I mean, I know we were finding them all so that we could hashtag them and and target people that were at these events, and then we all went into our turtle shells.
I know. Take the rug and pull it from under me. Why don't you?
Yeah, so I'd love for you to share with the audience just how you're hitting refresh on 2020, because you are a powerful woman, so you're not letting any of these things that are happening in the news and in our world right now to disturb you. So how are you hitting refresh on 2020 in your business and in your life?
So my premise is always to say I can either look at everything as a problem or an opportunity. And it sounds really cliche, but the truth is there are always both in exactly the same place. It's equally the same thing. It's like that picture where you can see the gran as well, an old woman and a young woman in the same, and they coexist in exactly the same picture. So for me, one of the things I know about women on stage in particular is that often there's so little time for working on the digital profile, for SEOing your website, for building a decent website, for editing that video footage, putting a show reel together, those time-consuming activities that are kind of fundamental and the building blocks of a really successful business. My website was dated. I could do with updating some of the back-end systems that I have. I'd been building my coaching, mentoring practice at the same time that I was traveling. So what that meant was I had less time available for doing those things. So I just focused on something different. And I, instead of talking about selling so much, which I've gone back to more now, but initially I said, look, you have an opportunity because there aren't the flights, there aren't the events. You can sit at home and weep about it, or you can create something that's going to help make it so much easier when competition is stronger when we come out of this, right? So I just focused on something else and used it as an opportunity to build relationships with people, to build the back end of my business, and to improve my online profile.
Amazing. So there you go. Use this downtime to tidy up your house, basically, in the online space. And refresh.
It's necessary.
I mean,
exactly.
Refreshing everything that people see. Fantastic. Love it. I think that's what a lot of people do or try to do between Christmas and New Year. But this time we've had like almost, 3 months of resetting these New Year's resolutions. You should call them COVID resolutions. That'd be great. So if you could go back to that dire day, well, for me, it was a bit of a shocker. I was like, pardon? You mean I can't drive my car? You mean I can't go swimming in the ocean? Pardon? Like, I'm sorry. What did you just say to me, Prime Minister?
I have to stay where now?
I have to stay in the four walls of my house. I don't think so. But no, I did for 5 weeks. So if you could go back to that day before lockdown, what would you have bought or changed in your business knowing what you know now?
So it's kind of business related and kind of absolutely not business related. I'd have just bought more wine. I'm serious.
So many people should say that.
Like, if I knew it was going to be so difficult, it just helped, right? So it would have been that, and it took me a little while to get the setup I normally have at home. I have the woo side of me. So when stuff goes down, I need sage, I need candles, I need long baths, I need Epsom salts. I just need some time to kind of ground and be with things. And so I probably would have set myself up a little bit better for that. I kind of have a little shock to my system. And then I was like, that and rice. Like, rice was just impossible to purchase.
Yeah. Interesting you say that, because I think the bath really resonated with people more than they actually let on, because I know that you said one of the posts that you put around like a diagram of your house and also another post of you sitting in the bath were two things that like really resonated with people, and you got the most amount of comments, the most amount of shares, and they almost went viral, right?
I love my bath. I'm not even going to lie. If you know me, I'm in the bathtub. I make phone calls, not like to friends. They're like, Lovelda, it's echoey. So my best work comes in when I'm in here.
Yeah, I'm not on the toilet. I'm in the bath.
I'm actually in the bath. So I have been known to, my longest bath was about 6 hours.
Whoa.
I'm serious. I'm real on my baths. But it's like, it's where I go to have a reset moment. If it's been a really heavy day, if it's just been a lot for me, just at least 2 hours just in the bath. I found you can get tables to put in there.
Yeah.
You know what's really bad? I ate my dinner in the bathtub yesterday because I wanted to.
Classic. Oh my goodness. So I guess
people are just going to be like, for real, Lovelda, you could just have your house. I can't have a house without a bathtub. My bathroom is so important to me.
There you go. For me, it's the garage and how many bikes I can hang up in the garage. And for you, it's the bath. Everyone has their room. That's fine. So I guess that kind of actually comes on to like my next question, which I'm sure you've got lots of them that you've thought of in the bath, but we like to cut through the BS here on this podcast and how you get momentum in your business. And as you said, women of power, they seem like they're this sort of like beacon that you could never be like, and you like to cut through that as well. So what barrier can you share with the audience that you've had to just go, BS. This is not true. And
So I
switch.
think,
I mean, and that could have been while you were in the bath. You could have gone, no.
ta-da.
Yeah.
I've had a few of them, but I think they come down to a simple theme. So for me, I think there's a sliding scale of truth, and especially in the current light, I think what I've discovered is the more I've stepped into and embodied that which I believe, and my values, and the more I've become my values, the more I've embraced them throughout different areas of my life and business, basically the easier things become. As soon as I start like bending the rules a little bit, like, you know, to say, oh, I'm working with powerful women, but there's this client that's not quite sitting right with me, or there's a client who's not showing up as powerful, but I'm letting them stand here and I'm observing their nonsense, but I'm not being powerful and speaking up to them. And I'm observing them flapping about. You know what? Nothing good ever comes of that. Like nothing good. And so for me to say, it's about power, it's about diversity, it's about personal responsibility. I think as business owners, when you select those values, whatever they are, you better believe that that's now what you have to live by. And that's hard. Like, I'm not saying I get it right every single time.
Yeah.
But for me, what I found is the more I've lived those, the more I've kind of gone, I cannot say I'm X. And this time, because it's a little bit uncomfortable, I'm just going to pass. I'll take a rain check this time because it's not easy. I can't do that because anytime I've done that, stuff starts to catapult in the wrong direction. But anytime I've done the opposite, and I had last week was a really tough week for me. It was also the best week in my business financially.
Wow.
But emotionally, it was one of the hardest weeks I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is it was all values. It was all me having to look at myself and go, this is what I'm about. I'm being called to step up and represent and embody that even further. And I don't, I'm not saying we always get it right, but I'm saying to make the values just this thing you write on a piece of paper so you can say, oh, these are the values in my business. They have to mean something, and they really get to mean something when every time you're giving an opportunity, big or small, where do you put your money? Where do you not put your money? Who do you work with? Did you just say yes to that? Bend your values a little bit because you think there's something to gain. I can tell you anytime I've said yes to something and just relax the values a little bit, even though it's not a comfortable thing. I don't fully believe in them, but I think I'm going to just hang out here because that's the place I need to be. It never works. Never. It's always blown up in my face.
Yep. I think I could say exactly the same thing when I think, oh, it'll work out, or it won't be for very long with this client or something. They are so all consuming and, really take the piss. So you kind of have to set your boundaries alongside your values. So I really love that piece of advice. And I hope that all of you are listening and probably nodding dogs going, oh, yep, I've done that too. So awesome. And I don't know. And look, you didn't even have to, you might be listening to this in the bath. You might not be, but you didn't have to have a bath to get that piece of advice.
No, but I think it may have came from several of my bath times. So somebody had to have a bath to get it.
So, what legacy are you wanting to create and leave in this online space? And I probably, would be thinking that has now enhanced after the last 20 days or so, and what's been happening in the world, not just with COVID, but with the other, protests and people standing up and sharing themselves. Legacy and what you want to leave in this online space will have mulled through many baths, I think, over the past week or so. Am I right?
It just keeps getting bigger. It's kind of more and more terrifying. So I think I started with wanting to impact 100,000 powerful women. To me, I feel like my time here on earth has been absolutely worth it. If I can at least start to see a significant shift in diversity on stages, full stop. And not the little stages, the big ones.
Yeah.
The ones that where the real decisions are made. If I can start to see representation of a sector, representation from multiple different perspectives in that space, then I'm like, yes, that's what we want. And I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. But I do think if every individual can step into their own authority and own power and take more responsibility for not just themselves, but those around them, we're onto the right path.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what,
One at a time.
You are already, I want to tell you, you're already creating that wave, because your podcast has been fantastic. And although not standing on a physical stage, there are hundreds of thousands of women and men of all groups, ethnicities, beliefs listening to your podcast. So you're already having that ripple effect. So you can go and pat yourself on the back, give yourself a scrub in the bath, and tell yourself you're already on the way, girl.
Do you know what? I'll upgrade my salts now just for that. Thank you. Win.
I'll have an extra scoop of sage in there, thank you.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, now you have an amazing Instagram handle that I love to stalk you on, but also there is your podcast as well. And there might be other ways, but how can people get in touch with you? Let us know.
So with a name like Lovelda Vincenzi, I'm pretty SEOable, but it is my handle across all platforms.
And we'll put that in the show notes so that you can spell it as well.
It's not easily spelt, and it's probably not spelt how you think it is unless you're Italian. And you can find the podcast, lovelda.com/podcast, or it's available on all platforms. Again, pretty much just put Lovelda Show in it. You will find it. It's a great name for SEO. I'm going to have to give my kids SEOable names. Like, it's so beautiful.
Yes, when I went from Penny Commons, I was the only person on the planet with that name. And then when I got married, I was like, ugh.
Oh, it's a crowded marketplace. Now I got to work harder.
Yeah, totally.
Mine's so simple.
It's so good. So good. So what, do you have something that you can give our listeners that will change their world?
I do. I have a speaker marketing blueprint. So if you're into speaking, looking to become a speaker, it's basically the little recipe or the golden recipe I use to go from completely unknown to getting booked internationally in the space of 18 months. So, wow. Here you go. It's all yours.
Amazing. All right. Well,
it teaches you how to get all those marketing assets that you'll need in order to raise your profile.
Wow. And that's all for free?
Yeah, take it.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. I'm going to go and download that. So, yeah, make sure you go and grab it. We'll put the link in the show notes. And, yeah, you'll probably see some changes in the podcast after I read that. Probably need to polish that up a bit, but never mind. It'll be all right. So make sure you grab that. That sounds fantastic. And even if you're thinking, ooh, I'm not sure if I want to be on the international stage, I'm pretty sure that it's a ladder up approach, right? And so you can start with small.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. No, because your profile doesn't matter. If it's not like I want to be on a small stage, so I'll have a smaller profile. It kind of doesn't make any difference. It doesn't work like that.
Just make my picture little.
If I just shrink the size of the photo, then that means I'll get the equaler stages.
Yeah. We'll only speak to 100 or less.
Yeah.
Oh, we could have some good fun with that. That would be good. Okay, so as a last soundbite, I always ask all my guests, what's the favorite one-liner you give yourself to have a pep talk to yourself so that you get momentum in your business each day?
I'm actually going to steal it from one of the guests on my show because it was so good that I just feel like everybody needs to know about it. It's actually a quote. And it goes something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, so please don't come after me. It goes along the lines of, you never get to leave footprints in the world if you're tiptoeing through life.
I love it. You never
right?
get to leave footprints on this earth if you're tiptoeing through it. So go all in.
All in.
All in. Love it. Well, thank you very much for being part of the Hitting Refresh on 2020 Summit. I love that your spark, your tenacity, and I guess to use one of your words, your power that comes through, especially when your business was all around being on stage. You know, you could have just been crying on that couch behind you for the last 3 months. And what have you done? You have launched a phenomenal podcast. You've totally put it out there. You've revamped yourself and everyone else's websites and profiles, and you are good to go. Come to New Zealand. We're all open again now. You can have thousands of people in a seminar, and it's totally fine.
I'm totally up for that. First, I've got to be able to get out of the country.
Yeah, and you have to go into 14 days isolation. So I would post your stuff through the window.
Penny, I need food.
There you go. Right. Well, thanks so much. And everyone who's listening or watching, make sure that you take a screen grab of it. Tell us where you're watching or listening to it, what your biggest takeaway is, and make sure that you're leaving those big footprints and not tiptoeing. Love it. Till next time. Bye. Wow. What an amazing episode. Thanks for tuning in. And if you loved the Woo with the Do and want to dive deeper into how you too can get and keep momentum in your business, then please join us at pennyelliottgroup.com/consistent clients for the live training this month. It's going to be super juicy as I'm giving you access to the only 3 daily habits and mindset tweaks you need to have consistent clients in your business forevermore. Come and join us.